this is Born in 62, I'm Henrik Jøs. Today I will start a series of videos about using the punching bag for workouts. The punching bag is a wonderful tool for your workouts. You can build strength, stamina, precision, speed, a lot of good stuff here, and as a bonus on top of that you can actually train something that will work if you need self-defense. So a punching bag is a great tool. In common videos I'll talk about the different kind of techniques you want to apply, strikes, kicks and so on. Today I'll just talk about the equipment. And the equipment is pretty important here. It's very necessary to have some good equipment and know how to use it. First off, I'll talk about the bag. The bag you should strive to get should be heavy and big. I've seen a lot of small bags, very lightweight, and when you punch them they simply swing away, and it's even worse. If you kick them they will be all over the place, and you can actually hurt yourself because there's too little resistance. So if you really want to put power into a kick and the bag just kind of slips away from you, well, you can hurt your ankle, your knee, your hips and your back, so we don't want that. The striking area on the back should at least start at the height of your own head, and it should go all the way down at least to your knees. That way you can do low kicks that are intended to hit the thigh area, and you want that whole area to be free for striking, kicking and so on. So at least head height and at least knee height. Even longer is better if you can afford it and if you have a good place to store it. What is evident for such a big and heavy bag is that you should have a place to hang it that is sturdy and solid and can take the weight and the swing of the bag. And this is where a lot of people fail when they try to put up a punching bag in their home, because they simply don't have a place that is strong enough to take the weight and the swings of the bag. And believe me, if you start hitting it hard, it will swing and it will generate a lot of force. So it might be very evident, but you should choose a place to hang the bag that really gives it a good support, so you won't destroy your own house or in some way suddenly have the bag come crashing down and hitting you or someone else. There are lots of different bags. This one is leather, and when I was young, a punching bag this size and this quality was extremely expensive. Today, because more and more people are doing martial arts, you can get a bag like this for a few $100, no, $100 maybe. This is leather, and you should buy leather in my opinion. There are a lot of artificial material used for bags, polyester, nylon, all sorts of stuff, and they are simply not as solid as leather. If you can't afford leather or for some reason can't get it, I would prefer a canvas bag, because canvas reacts more like leather than some artificial material does. It lasts longer and it feels better for the punch. So leather, you can keep a leather bag working for many years. If the leather begins to dry up, you can apply a little grease like you would do on a pair of boots. Let it stay there for 24 hours and then wipe it clean with a soft cloth. At first the bag will feel a little greasy, but that will wear off when you start striking it again. Sunlight is the enemy of your bag, so you should store it in a place with no sunlight, because sunlight will make leather crack, it will make artificial materials crack. It will also hurt canvas in the long run, but that's my opinion. So get a good, big, heavy bag. Money saved on buying a little kid's bag is actually money wasted in my opinion. So start out with a good, solid punching bag. If you can't afford one by yourself or you don't have the space for one, you can join a club and use the bags there. Different clubs has different rules. Most boxing clubs frown if you start kicking the bag, so don't do that. What you should do if you use a bag and a club, is always to check out the rules, see is it alright to kick it, do you need to have shoes on or do you not need to have shoes on, and so on. So always follow the rules. There's no need to get in any kind of discussion with people, because they're back after all. When you're going to strike a bag, you'll need some other stuff. You'll need some protection for your hands. What I have here is a piece that has some foam into it, and you simply stick your 4 fingers into these small holes like this, and then the thumb goes in here, and there's some Velcro to close it, and then there is a lot of cloth you can wrap around your wrist and your thumb for protection. You need to keep your thumb down and in, so I wrap it pretty tightly here. I need to protect my wrist, so this is how it's done. I don't need to wrap the hands as this is packed up in the foam, but just to make sure the hand is protected, it will also go around the hand a couple of times here. It should not be so tight that your fingers start tingling. It should be pretty tight, but not too tight. The first couple of times you put such a protection on, wraps like this, you'll probably wrap it too tight and you'll have to release it, because if your fingers start tingling, it's way too tight, you're cutting off the blood flow, and we don't need that. This one is great. I like this one because it protects the knuckles very good, and that makes a lot of sense when you're hitting a heavy bag like this. If you're also in the same workout using pads and you go back and forth with a partner, and you hold the pads, your partner holds the pads, and so on, I prefer a simple wrap like this, because this bulky foam won't go into a striking pad. So this is applied like this. You go a couple of times around the hand and the wrist just to make it fit. And there are different ways to do this, but I prefer to have a piece of wrap between my fingers, because that will protect them somewhat and also protect the knuckles. This pink one is actually my daughter's, but I thought it was easier to see what it did than if I used a black one. Then I go over the knuckles a couple of times. What I'm really missing here is the thumb, so I'll go back here to get an anchor for the thumb, and I'll wrap it around like this. This is, if you've never seen this before, this is probably a bit too speedy, but you can always look at it several times. I always do it the same way, because then I know I've done it the way I like it and the way I want my hand protected. I prefer wraps with a little bit of elastic band in them. You can get some without, and they're kind of dead. If you don't wrap them very tight, they will start releasing themselves and be all over the place suddenly. So I prefer that little elastic feel to the band. But this is 2 ways to protect your hands, and you need that, because otherwise your hands will be sore, you'll get bruises on your knuckles and so on. What you then need is some kind of punching glove. This is the one I used when I was very young. These are leather gloves, mittens, and there's only a piece of cardboard sewed into this place, and there's a wooden stick in here. If I can get my hands in there at all, there mustn't room. You see, it looks kind of strange. And it's quite worn, and every time I used it, my hands was bloody sore. If not from the striking, then from this wooden stick inside the pound. So this is kept only for sentimental reasons, and I wouldn't recommend that you used any shit like this. Probably won't be able to find any. This is a more MMA style glove, and if you are going to compete in MMA or train in a club, some of your sparring and some of your punching bag training should be done with the same kind of glove that you will use for competition, so you get used to it. Otherwise, I don't like these gloves because they don't protect your fingers very well, and you can see here I have trouble getting this pad of foam into the glove. Also, this is not leather, this is artificial material, and you can see it's actually falling apart here, so this is one of the reasons I always recommend buying real leather, both for the bag and for the gloves. This is a classic back glove like they're sold now, and it's almost like a small boxing glove. There's much more padding here on the knuckles, but no padding on the thumb, and you close it with Velcro and it goes like this. Wow. Some people prefer these. I have actually switched from these to real boxing gloves to protect my hands. As the years have gone by and I have done a lot of boxing, I've become quite a hard hitter, and my hands suffer from that. So I prefer foam and some heavy bags. These not bags, gloves. And this one is actually 16 ounce. That's a really big glove, and they are never used for fighting, but only for sparring. But they protect my hands well. And this is actually the kind of glove I prefer when I strike the punching bag. Such a glove like this is quite expensive, but hopefully you'll have it for many years. At some point a real boxing glove will be worn out, because the leather is a fine thin leather, not something really thick like you have on the punching bag. So sooner or later this will be worn out, but until then you'll have a good glove that will protect your hand and your wrist. When you choose a glove, especially thumb, you should be paying attention if it fits your hand, if you think your thumb is lying in a good place, or if it feels strange, that glove is not for you. Gloves are sewn differently, and you should always try them out. Walk about in the shop and feel, does this feel right? Can I really make a fist inside the glove, or is the glove actually in my way, so it's hard for me to make that fist? So you shouldn't just buy the cheapest glove you can find, but find one that really fits your hand. So that is the 3 pieces of equipment you'll need. Either you'll get a good back glove like this one with some padding here, or you'll get a boxing glove. As I said, if you're into MMA, you might do some of your punching with an actual MMA glove, but only up to a fight to get used to that particular glove you will wear at the fight, because otherwise they don't protect your fingers very much, and you can break a finger. Even if you're a good striker and you have good technique, sometimes the back swings in a strange way and suddenly you hit it in a way you didn't imagine, and there's no need to break your fingers for that. So that was actually the equipment. Next video I'll start on the different strikes. My opinion is that even if you never participate in any kind of fight or sparring or anything, you should learn to do it correctly. Meaning that if you punch it back, you should punch it with real strikes, real technique. Mostly because if you one day really need self-defense, you should have learned it correctly, otherwise you have wasted your time. But also because a bag like this is quite heavy, and if you have no technique, you might break your hands or your fingers, and it's kind of stupid. Otherwise you will also look stupid if you stand, doing Donald Duck punches like this. So in the next couple of videos I'll tell you about different strikes, and then we'll move on to strike combinations and so on. But I hope you're game. I hope you'll start using a punching bag, and write me if there's something you need to ask me. Bye.